Welcome. In summer of 1955, Disney forever changed the standard in which families gauge vacations and adventures by opening the first Disneyland theme park in Los Angeles, California, USA. Since that time, Disney has welcomed inspiration to several corners of the globe by opening new theme parks. All of the parks share a common theme of helping children and adults believe in their dreams, advances social culture by creating lasting memories and experiences, promotes imaginative thinking, and provides affordable and lasting experiences that are second to none. Disneyland must make a decision on where to open their next park. This presentation explains our recommendation of building out into the culturally rich and diverse country of India. Cage framework, our first analysis method used to recommend entry into the country, will juxtapose several attributes of the United States and India's business landscape. First, India's primary language with 53% of the total population is Hindi. However, 12% of the country speaks English as their first or secondary language. Several barriers exist in terms of religion and ethnicity, and many of these were covered in our Harvard business cases where companies did not create proper entry strategy and failed in the country. Religion is ingrained deeper into India's culture than most of the U.S. India's deep-rooted religious beliefs can cause instability when disagreements occur. From the standpoint of society, India's political system favors a democratic culture as both were former British colonies. Overall, the fit would be defined as fair from a cultural standpoint. In terms of economic distance, India performs very well when viewed from the perspective of the United States. In terms of size, a 2017 report estimated that India will overtake the U.S. to become the world's second biggest economy by the year 2050. Although this forecast is far too distant and depends on socioeconomic factors and massive purchasing power parity per capita, the growth of India's economy just cannot be denied. India has no shortage of skilled workers, and their educated workforce is growing each year. Overall, the labor force in India favors a move for Disney. One possible risk in this attribute would be rigid labor laws that deeply favor employees and make it very difficult for employers to release workers to come to work for another company. In 2016, the GDP per capita of India was approximately $1,500 per capita. This low number is mostly attributed to the fact that much of India's workforce works in the agricultural trade. By contrast, the average GDP per capita in the U.S. is approximately $50,000. This represents a statistic 34 times that of India. Disney will need to concentrate on a pricing model that is carefully inclusive of India's low-wage workers to succeed. Overall, the economic distance between the U.S. and India favors an entry for Disneyland India. Next, I would like to introduce Adrienne, who will introduce India's economic systems and income distribution, legal and political systems, and how that relates to the entry of Disneyland into India.
Thank you, Bryan. Over the next few minutes, we will take a look at economic system and income distribution of India. In addition, we will start to look at the legal and political issues that we may see as we enter this market. India is a mixed economy, meaning that public, private, government, as well as markets contribute to their economy. In addition, the country operates as a parliamentary democracy, where voters elect parliament, which then forms the government. As reported by Statistic Times, India is ranked number 7 in GDP per capita in nominal terms. They are likely to overtake France and the United Kingdom by 2020. In terms of purchasing power parity, India is ranked number 3. Growth is still expected in this area, however, it is also expected that India's ranking will not change by 2020 in this category. The Heritage Foundation reports that while some adjustments have been made on improving the inefficient and bloated government sector, better managing public finance, and improving the business and investment environments, overall progress has been limited and inconsistent. Income inequality has been a persistent problem in India, as demonstrated by a World Economic Forum report last year. This report stated that India has a high Gini coefficient of 51.4 as of 2013. India is 12th on the list of most unequal countries in the world. LiveMint reports that the reasons for high income inequality include disproportionate returns to education for the well-off, the capture of subsidies by the rich, and rural-urban income gap, apart from the initial heavily skewed distribution of wealth, of course. A Disney resort and theme park will contribute to growth of India's middle class, whereas it will employ approximately 23,000 people, which does not include the use of independent contractors or all the staff of non-Disney operations nearby, like hotels and restaurants. India is a stable democracy. Continued economic growth in India has been sustained at about 7% year over year. The top corporate tax rate is 34.5%. However, the government has announced that this would be progressively reduced to 25% over the next 4 years. This is reported by the India Business Council. The overall tax burden equals 16.7% of India's GDP. Organizing new investment and production remains burdensome. The Heritage Foundation states that it takes more than 25 days on average to launch a business, and licensing requirements are very costly. Political corruption also has a negative effect on economic performance. Civil servants at all levels are known to accept bribes as well as engage in other corrupt behavior. I am now going to pass this off to Jason Gesser, who will take a deeper look into the political and legal environment of India, as well as walk us through a SWOT analysis.
Thank you, Adrienne. To better understand India's political and legal environments, let's first identify what type of political system India has. India, with a rather intermediate score of 48, is a society of both collectivistic and individualistic traits. India's legal system is very comprehensive, with taxation policies that encourage foreign direct investment. The judicial system is fair, equitable, and transparent by design. However, the lack of resources and inefficient processes has caused a massive backlog in cases, which undermines India's credibility on the global stage. Furthermore, the country continues to rank high on corruption and displays a lack of will to encounter this trend, as most political battles are focused on religion and the caste system. Making India a corruption-free country is one of the main agendas for all the governments that come into power. However, there has not been much improvement in the situation despite several measures taken. As we now evaluate the support of the rule of law in the legal front, India's performance has been deteriorating. According to the Rule of Law Index given by the World Bank, India's score has declined from 0.26 in 1995 to negative 0.11 in 2011. The low score of rule of law in India is expected to have a negative impact on the inflow of foreign investment. This shows the inability of the Indian government to implement the law properly at the ground level, all which is concerning for Disney. With that being said, let's take a look at a SWOT analysis of Disneyland entering into the Indian market. Strengths. Disney retains one of the world's most powerful and recognizable brands and has a successful track record in establishing profitable theme parks. With a potential market of approximately 30 million people in India and the increasingly progressive and liberalized economy, which could be enhanced by Disney's entry, there may be significant benefits to be had by both Disney and the Indian government. Disney also has great experience outside the U.S. and has shown to have the money to do it right, with theme parks in Japan, Hong Kong, France, and its most recent and largest foreign investment in Shanghai with a $5.5 billion resort. Weaknesses? The establishment of a large-scale theme park such as Disneyland requires enormous capital expenditure and a possession of a highly efficient infrastructure network. Disney theme parks attract tourists from all over the world, entailing the necessity for airports, hotels, and roads of international standards. In India, many Tier 1 cities do not have the access to high-quality roads and power, showing the lack of infrastructure needed to facilitate such a massive project. Opportunities. India possesses a sizable enough middle class to sustain a market for a theme park, and because this sector of the country's entertainment industry is less developed than its Asian neighbors, there may exist a prime opportunity for Disney to exploit what could be considered a relatively untapped and captive market. Threats. Having a supposed lack of awareness of the Disney brand in India may undermine companies' reach into the market. With some of the concerns earlier mentioned with the political and legal systems, the protection of Disney's trademarks and intellectual property may not be fully guaranteed if it expands into India. Threats of this nature may not be quickly resolved and could delay the onset of a profitable period for the company, along with creating a loss of revenue for the government should it jointly invest in this project. I will now pass this along to Chris Lomax, who will touch more on Disney's vision and brand control, Porter's 5 forces, and give an overall recommendation for Disney.
Thanks, Jason. When you think of Disney, I'm sure many special memories come to mind. This may be your favorite character or movie, but I'm sure for most, it's the immersive experience at one of the theme parks where it all comes to life. The Disney brand is what makes it one of the most cherished and respected companies in the world, especially now that Pixar, Lucasfilms, and Marvel are all under the umbrella. It's their focus on quality and safety and the best guest experience that separates them apart. This proposed park would be no different. The Disney Imagineers are involved in every aspect of a park's creation and will critique every angle from a guest perspective to make sure the smallest detail is accounted for. For example, sometimes the biggest and brightest is not always the answer. In Hong Kong, the park has a castle that is a replica of the smaller Disneyland castle, as you can see in the graphic above. Since many Chinese tourists grew up going to Disneyland, they wanted a similar castle to what they remember as kids. On the other hand, in Europe, where grand castles litter the countryside, Disneyland Paris needed something out of a storybook. There is no doubt the park in India will have its own unique magic, incorporating its rich culture into the Imagineers' plans and leaving no true comparison in the region. When evaluating competition or threats using Porter's 5 forces, Disney's brand, international presence, financial backing, and most importantly, its intellectual property, or characters, give it a sizable advantage. While there are a handful of theme parks in India, they are primarily roller coaster and water park driven, with the largest being Wonderla with the 3 locations across the country. This seems to more align with what Universal Studios does versus a direct competitor to the family-friendly Disney. I don't see an issue with multiple parks, as in Orlando, Florida, Universal Studios, Disney World, which is 4 theme parks, and SeaWorld are all within a few miles of each other, and the Disney parks continue to thrive. Since Disney is the best at leveraging its TV shows, movies, consumer products, and theme parks all off of each other, those synergies are hard to compete with. To close it out, a quote from Walt Disney: "Disneyland will never be completed. It will continue to grow as long as there is imagination left in the world." For most of Disney's history, they focused on the United States, but there's so much opportunity in emerging markets to create that same affinity for the brand we love here. This includes kids watching TV shows, movies, transitioning to their favorite character on a t-shirt. The love for the brand and Disney's understanding of this makes a park a great way to spend a vacation, combining those shows and movies into one. India provides an emerging market with significant growth in population, regionally would not be cannibalistic to current Disney parks, and would feed the larger Disney ecosystem. Now, there are risks, but with any emerging market there would be risks. India does have a high poverty rate, and their current infrastructure would need to be improved in regards to roads and airport with the additional traffic. Overall, our recommendation, though, is to move forward, as this would be the best country to expand with another Disney park. We very much thank you for your time, and hopefully you're excited as we are for this possibility. Thank you.